Forgot to mention earlier when I was speaking, big demonstration in Manchester City Centre next Sunday against the Devo Mank Trojan horse, devolution of £6 billion NHS budget to Greater Manchester, which they're going to carry out. They're going to biggest change in NHS in England since it was set up, all going to happen without any consultation with the public whatsoever. It's an absolute scandal. The NHS campaign groups are united with us, and the County Association of Trades Councils, and various other people saying there's no way this should be going on without proper public scrutiny and a public debate and a referendum on the issue. You need to be there. It's because people don't do anything, these things become law, they get done, and then people moan about after and say, well, how comes, you know, this has happened? And that's because not enough people have gone out and done something about it. And actually that's half our problem in this country, is the acquiescence of the general public, which you can understand, you know, the people have got things to do with their lives, but without ordinary people engaging in the political process in some way, campaigning like today on the streets of Wigan and doing other things, protesting about fracking or whatever, without more and more people getting involved in politics in that way, we really are doomed. I want to talk about something else now today. It's called the 1 million climate jobs report. I've got the copy here, £2.50 if anybody wants to buy a pamphlet. Not everybody can afford that, but I can assure you this is a fantastic read. It's supported by a number of unions in this country, including the Bakers Union, the Communication Workers Union, which organise post office workers, Fire Brigades Union, the University College Union, which is about lecturers at places like Wigan College and universities. The National Union of Students are also backing it, Transport Salaried Staff Association, the PCS Union, who organise civil servants, and my own union as well, the biggest in the country, 1.5 million members, Unite the Union, are all backing this pamphlet. And what this pamphlet basically says is we could put 1 million people back to work in this country within 12 months doing things, I mean, you might think this is ridiculous, but insulating people's homes so that they can bring down the gas electricity bills. Not rocket science, that is it. If we insulate everybody's homes, we can bring down their energy bills. That's a surefire way of getting their energy bills down. Putting them in, you know, things like LED lighting, doing an energy survey. That would actually save loads of people money on the gas electricity bills, which a lot of people suffering from fuel poverty. Solve that at a stroke, and it would also create lots of jobs, people doing the work, insulating them out. You think how many thousand homes there are across Wigan and other parts of Greater Manchester? We could put a hell of a lot of people to work just doing that. Not only that, we could put, this pamphlet says, 375,000 people back to work, into work, doing things like developing renewable energy. We're surrounded by the sea in this country, in case you haven't noticed. Some of the largest tides in the world. I remember when in 1960s when I watched Blue Peter, and they went on about the Severn barrage, you know, it could supply us with all our energy needs in the future, and they haven't even ever started in all that time. And we really should be harnessing the power of the waves, using more hydropower, solar panels on roofs of pit buildings, things like ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, obviously wind power as well in the equation, lots of other inventions. Somebody was talking about hydrogen power with me earlier. We should be investing in this type of thing rather than relying on the market to solve our problem, and in so doing, in a place like Wigan, we could create in the region of 5,000 jobs. It's about 200 jobs per ward. Now, I don't know whether any other political parties or anybody else is saying that we should create 5,000 jobs in Wigan. I'd like to suggest that actually nobody is doing that. This pamphlet says we could be doing that, putting people back to work, doing radical thing of developing our own renewable energy supply, which would stop us being dependent on things like fracking, which we don't need and shouldn't want, even if it was safe with knobs on. We don't need to be relying on Russian gas, not that we rely on it anyway, but we certainly won't do. We can produce all our own energy. So what would this policy do? It'll allow us develop our own energy supply and own energy security. It'll allow us to bring down people's gas electricity bills, and that seems to be not pretty complicated. It would create all them jobs. What's also advocated is a big development in public transport. One of the things we have in this country is, you know, if you drive around in the roads, lots of cars on the road, congestion, air pollution as a result of that. Something like a third of our CO2 emissions, carbon emissions, also come from cars. People have been asking cars, what would get you out of your cars? And they said access to cheaper and more reliable public transport. Doesn't seem rocket science. He says, well, why don't we give them that then? Why don't we give them a cheaper, more integrated, more efficient public transport system? That's what they said, we'll get them out of the car, and that will create lots of jobs for things like train drivers, tram drivers, bus drivers, people building the trams and trains and buses that we're going to need to do that, and in maintaining the infrastructure along with that. More jobs there. We can also create more jobs growing more of our own food in this country rather than bringing strawberries from Chile in the middle of winter because it's seasonal over there. Growing more of our own food here would help us, and obviously make sure that we aren't dependent on food coming in from other countries, or potentially we could even starve to death. Not a complicated ideas. You can buy copies of this pamphlet. We've been pushing it with the Labour Party. Sadly, only a couple of smaller parties agree with this, one of them being the Green Party. I'm not a member of the Green Party, I'm a member of Left Unity, we support that too, but only a small number of left parties are proposing this, and yet this is an idea whose time has come. Now, I said to people say, well, climate change, it's not happening, is it really? Sun says it's not happening, so it mustn't be. Well, I always put to people, you know, the worst thing that these proposals in this pamphlet are going to do, if climate change isn't happening, is it's going to create 1 million jobs. It's going to bring people's gas and electricity bills down, it's going to provide better public transport, and it's going to secure our energy needs for the future. Whereas if they're wrong about climate change, and climate change is happening and we do nothing about it, we're really up shit creek without a paddle. So just think about that. Whether you agree with climate change or not, 5,000 jobs in Wigan. I don't know how many people are unemployed at the moment. I would suggest it's probably in the region of 10,000. We could do something about that. We could create these jobs. But what's lacking, right, is ordinary people, such as yourself, people who are employed, doing anything about it. Well, one thing we should be sure about in society is if we don't fight, we're not going to win, are we? We're not going to win. It's a certainty. However, if we do fight, we might lose, but it's only by fighting that we've got any chance of winning. So I'll leave it up to you. If you want to go home and do nothing about it, don't be surprised that nothing happens. But in reality, as Shelley said in his poem after Peterloo Massacre, you know, and it's pretty obvious, you know, when he said, "Arise like lions from your slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake the chains to earth like dew which is sleep have fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. There is no power on this earth stronger than the organised working class movement in this country and ordinary people organised together. And until people recognise that, we're going to make very little progress on any of the issues that have been raised today. If we can get organised and we can fight, we can do anything. We can do anything. And you only need to look at events in other countries that prove that. The only thing that's holding us back is our own capacity and willingness to do something. So I'd like to urge you today here at Wake Up Wigan to get involved in whatever campaign it is, whatever political issue you find more suitable to you, because if you don't get involved, things are going to get worse before they get better. So I'll finish on that note.